from Vasquez being out, and at this point, I forgot Christian Vasquez is even on this team because he's playing so poorly. And Leon's dipped for sure, but he's still playing well defensively. And with Swihart's added not only value from other positions, but just he's been fine playing catcher. I mean, he's blocking balls, he's calling balls in the dirt, he's not afraid to mix up the pitches, he's calling good games. He's improved everywhere and shows you the potential of this kid. And it also shows why, I've been saying I don't want to trade him for a 1-for-1 on a lower end guy. Like Eovaldi for Swihart, we would have got robbed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he's got so much potential and years of control, where Jalen Beeks, by the time he gets good, our window might be closing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you mean, and it has gotten to the point where if he's going to be in a deal, it has to be for a significant piece. Someone that's controllable for at least 2 or 3 years, and I mean, he's just not worth giving up for nothing at this point. And with the thing with Devers, though, I would not want him at second because it's just a much more technical position. Third base, if you think about it, is the least technical positions of all the infield spots because you're just knocking down grounders or line drives and shipping them to either second or first. There's no real force plays there. There's no complexity where you're backing up the other middle infielder, and I just feel like he's going to be more susceptible to injury, especially if he's in the middle infield. I wouldn't have a problem if they put him over at first and tried that out. I think that's viable. If you like Swihart at third, that kind of complicates things for Moreland. I guess you might even see him Devers DH at times for when Martinez goes to left field. But
yeah, I wouldn't want to take first base away from Pearson Moreland. I think that's too good. The only reason I say Devers is because his biggest issue is just the long throw. Sometimes he shorts it, sometimes he sails it. Yeah. That issue's gone at second. And his range isn't bad. He makes the stops at third base, but the one thing I'm worried about at this moment at second, like you just said, Terry, would be injuries. Just because he's a little banged up with his shoulder and now his hamstring. You look at a guy like Pedroia, who, when he comes back from a little bit of injury, keeps killing himself at second. Middle infield's tough on you, so I totally get that. But, later this year, if he gets healthy, maybe you try him out there next year. It's definitely in the conversation, I feel. If Pedroia, Pedroia's going to get a shot next year. We all don't want him to, but he's going to. But if he struggles again or gets hurt again, if you can have Swihart or another third baseman, either free agency or Chavez comes up, whoever, and your second, and Nunez is most likely going to opt out, considering that his market value is at 10 or 11 million. So you could definitely try him there. You get all spring training and the beginning of the year, try him out. But for the rest of the year, I would love to get a Beltre or something like that, because not only would he be good to help mentor Devers, but he's great defensively. Like, it's seventh inning of playoff game. We're up 2-1. Like, you have Beltre in there now. I feel great, and he can hit.
And that's possible. That's very possible. And with Devers at this point, I mean, it's been a disappointing season at this point, I would say, because performance-wise, he's scuffled. His OBP hasn't been above 300 since April. And now the injuries are creeping up on him, and he does look like he has the body type for somebody who is going to be susceptible to injuries. I mean, Swihart looks like a great athlete and is in great shape. He's pliable, and I just don't know that that's going to be the case for Devers. And then, at this point, it wouldn't even bother me if he just went directly to Pawtucket if we did acquire a Beltre type guy. And I just want him performing well. He did hit that laser beam home run the night before he hurt himself, and that tied the game. After Kimbrel blew it, and then of course Mookie hit his first ever walk off, which sounds crazy in extra innings.
That does sound crazy.
It does sound crazy.
But with Devers, though, I mean, if we're going to go after a Beltre, then I'd I'd just rather Devers come up when he's definitely healthy and when he's definitely swinging a good bat.
So when it comes to his health, if he's not healthy, I don't want him playing, and I'd rather him just be on the roster and sit there, or just be in Pawtucket if you're not going to play if he's not healthy. But just like Bradley, his last month, Devers is batting 276, 323 OPP, and a 466 slugging. And on the year, he's batting 245 with 15 home runs. So his last month, he's been great. He's hitting for average. He's hitting for power. He had 5 home runs in the last 30 games, 20 RBIs. So he's hitting well, and he just got hurt, unfortunately, now. So it stinks because he was actually on the rise. Just like JBJ in his last month, he's batting over 300, and he's been playing a lot better as well, too. So, not a good time for him to get hurt because he's been playing hot, but also not a good time because if he does come back, and now we can make a move, right? If we make a move, we don't need him. If we get a Beltray, we don't need Devers for the rest of the year. If we don't, we need him back. And I'm not too worried about him hitting because he's been better. And I always compare the numbers to Travis Shaw. The only thing that Travis Shaw really has on this year is OBP. Other than that, their average is almost the same. He's got 4 more home runs than him, maybe 5 after today. So if everyone's really happy with Travis Shaw out there in Milwaukee, then they should be adequate with Devers, especially the last month or two.
How are they in runs scored comparatively?
What do you mean, like his personal runs?
Just like runs, the run stat. Where do they line up against each other?
Oh, the runs. So this year Devers has 45 runs. I don't know what Shaw has. I'll look it up real quick, but
I'm gonna guess Shaw's is a little bit higher because a higher OBP is gonna translate to that, and
yeah, but I feel like runs and RBIs is like a stat that you can cherry pick from because it's not
Shaw's got 50.
Yeah, he's got 50. So there you go.
Not a whole lot more, but
no, pretty in the same neighborhood. But I mean, runs is something you can get on base all you want, but if no one drives you in, then you're shit out of luck. And RBIs, if you bat 8th, 7th, what are your opportunities for RBIs when Shaw's batting 3rd and 4th and 5th? So those I don't really value too much, I guess I should say.
I guess. I mean,
it's all situational, right? Like, I think that JD Martinez should have a ton of RBIs batting in the 3-hole, but for someone like JBJ or, Devers batting in 7, 8, I don't expect a ton of RBIs, even if they do hit 300, just because of where they're located in the lineup.
I guess with Shaw, he still has the propensity to go on a 3 or 4 week tear, though. Kind of similar to how we've seen JBJ do it over the years. And
100%. Yeah, we Devers does the same thing though.
Well, I don't know if it's to the same degree necessarily. Maybe last year we saw it a little, but
58 games was last year, and he batted 284.
Yeah,
and
I think he was well over 3 though for much of that, and then it came down towards the end last year.
Yeah, it did. It came down to earth a little bit there, and he had 10 home runs in 58 games. So that's really good, especially for like a 20-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
But Shaw started up the season extremely hot, and then he really, kind of started up the last 2 months.
The one thing I will say about Devers that I definitely like is he does come up in big spots for you. Case in point, a couple of games ago, and then he's not
afraid of the spotlight.
Yeah, his first home run against Chapman, and then the inside the Parker in the playoffs. So stuff like that, you would like in a player, obviously. So we'll see, but it'll be interesting to see what type of move they go for at this point. And actually, there was one player though that comes to mind with Swihart maybe. Is Whit Merrifield. Do you make that deal? Because he's the only one of value we have that could kind of get that trade done.
Yeah, I would get Whit in a second for Swihart because he solves literally every issue. Bottom mid lineup of the bat. Yup. Great defensive. Yup. Second baseman. Yup. He's perfect.
Yeah, that's about the only thing I can see. At
maybe
this point.
Gannett. Gannett would be good too, but you'd have to see if you could get a verbal agreement for him to sign because he's only got 1 more year after this, I think. before he needs a contract.
Oh, I might still do it anyway if he's got another year.
If he's got, yeah, I mean, it'd be close at that point, right? It'd be like, oh, you get Gannett for half of this year and all of next year.
Yeah,
and then you can figure it out at that point too.
Because it just lines up with our window, and
yeah, it really does.
Yeah,
I really questioned the availability of Witt when Philly got Asdrubal Cabrera. I thought that was really out of the box, I guess, because they didn't pay a lot. They basically didn't do it, give up anything to get him. So I guess that could be part of it, but maybe that it seems like they want to keep Witt for the long haul, basically, and make him the key centerpiece of the rebuild now with Brett Phillips.
Well,
yeah, the Phillips was big for them.
Yeah, and there was a report that came out that said Merrifield would not be dealt, and I think that was within the last 24 hours. So there already is that type of rhetoric, but I don't know. I mean,
just means the value is really high.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to get Swihart's higher, in the next couple of days. If they'll even be interested, I don't know.
Just a two-homer game.
Yeah, right. It's funny that they want to build around Witt. I mean, he's 29 years old.
Yeah, I mean, your catcher's younger. Your catcher's 27 and is a perennial all-star.
Yeah, now, he's weird, right? Witt is that, and not weird is it like he's not like a bad player. It's that he's 20. He's going to be 30 years old next year and still under team control.
He was a late bloomer, basically.
Talk about the definition of a late bloomer. He was drafted in 2010. So, in 2018, 8 years later, he's up here making a huge difference. 7 years, last year was when he really came up. But he's going to be 33 in 2022. Do you think Kansas City is going to compete before 2022?
No. Well, probably not.
Probably not, right?
They're not a market that goes out there and gets names, though.
No, exactly. So he would be a UFA when he's 34 years old in 2023. If you're ready then, do you give him a big contract when he's 34? And it just doesn't line up to me. If he was 26, yeah, it makes sense, right? Because in 4 years, he'd be 30 on the dot, and you'd probably be ready to contend. But 4 years from now, he's going to be 33, 34. So
that's a sad career.
They want to do that.
It is
a sad career, right? He's going now. I mean, he'll make his money. He'll make $10 million in his career. If he signs that big contract at 34 for like $30 million, then he's fine. But arbitration, he'll go up like $2 million, $6 million, $8 million, whatever. But I don't know, a Swihart deal for Whit Merrifield, with Swihart, Chavez, and somebody else. Do they really? Why would they say no? Swihart can play the play.
That's what I was thinking. It would have to include Chavez.
Yeah, and I would do it. Like to
second baseman for second baseman, basically.
Yeah, and to get a guy that's under on a team that has not salary cap issues, but luxury tax issues. I mean, Whit Merrifield is perfect. Team control and 3 years of arbitration, and then when he's 34, you just let him go.
In that ballpark where he can play with that wall.
Yep. And on this team where he wouldn't have to be the number 2 hitter or 3 hitter.
He could bat 6, 7.
Yeah, he would bat 6 or 7. He would bat 6 after Bogart being 5th, right?
Most 34-year-olds are affordable, though, nowadays. Even when
exactly. You never even know you could get him back. You're right.
Yeah,
he might never get his money, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never. He might not. He might. He really might. And he's putting up good numbers. He's great. He's a great player, right? In 2016, he played 81 games. He batted 283. Last year, he played 145, batted 288. He hit 19 home runs, too, as a second baseman. This year, he's batting 300 with 5 home runs in 100 games even. Those are great numbers.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be a power guy. He's going to bat 3. He's going to be another Pedroia for you. He'd bat 300 with a little bit of pop and play great defense.
There were a lot of guys this year, Brandon Phillips being a classic example of it, who didn't get jobs that could have been very serviceable on a lot of players, but he kind of had name value because he's been a good name, for the last decade. That kind of translates to having to pay him more in a way. Not like an astronomical deal, but more than, whatever your call-ups.
The minimum.
Yeah, whatever your call-ups from the minors are going to be. And Mike Napoli probably could have been a serviceable first baseman or DH for an American League team. and he didn't get a job, but then he got hurt anyway. But and there's been others. I just